Okay, I'm streaming. Yo, what's good? Part 2 of this, I guess. What's my notification? Alright. Fuck.
Bro, that's a weird explanation, bro. You're supposed to be like, are we live? Are we live?
Are we
That's what
live?
you're supposed to do.
Oh, my bad. Hold on. Alright, are we live?
Nah.
Are we live, kid? Yo,
I don't know.
We're live. Yeah, we're live.
Phrase what he told
Alright.
Goldie in the most vindictive way possible by being intentionally vague.
Wait, am I screen sharing? Am I screen sharing with audio?
Yeah.
Alright.
This was also insanely preemptive because I wasn't planning on testing for another couple months. Learn knew that the UHC community was primarily
No, what? We already watched this.
Oh, we didn't. No, we didn't.
I did.
Spanish speaking and that
Bro,
they had virtually no insight as to what was
I'ma
going
go
on
do
in the
some
vanilla
stuff,
community
watch
at
it.
the time. He knew
Alright.
that the best way to defraud me would be to plant seeds in external communities so that the rumors could freely circulate with no chance of ever being cleared up. To put this into perspective, you need to remember what was actually being debated at the time. It was commonly understood that key repetition was allowed because all you needed to do to achieve it was change your Minecraft controls, something that most players already do for other reasons. This was something that Learn also agreed upon. Because using a key to place blocks felt less ergonomic, many players opted to rebind their mouse buttons to the controls they set in Minecraft. This was referred to as mouse rebinding, and is what was in debate for being disallowed. Learn was intentionally vague about this, though, to the point where he would make it seem like I was closet cheating through the use of macros and auto-clickers. Essentially, he was able to transform what should have been a fairly straightforward and constructive debate about whether or not mouse buttons should be rebindable into a full-on assassination of my character. Learn's mischaracterizations would cause the narrative that I'm a closet cheater to spread throughout the UHC community. At the time, I had also been using a little-known technique called the switch stun. The switch stun technique allows you to perform shield disables from a sword hit as long as you swap to your axe shortly after swinging. This tactic is extremely useful because it allows you to preserve damage or crit your opponent in the case that they stop shielding before you hit them. This wasn't something that I particularly wanted to reveal at the time because it was a monumental advantage that was privately shown to me by a tier 1 player.
I don't know how to do it.
Unfortunately, because of Learn spreading the idea that I'm a closet cheater, UHC players began to assume that I was macroing to achieve my shield disables. After 10 days of Learn's lies continuing to spread, I received a message from Coldly on the topic of my shield disables informing me that macros aren't allowed. I now had to prove that it wasn't a macro. This interaction ended with me recording a video explaining how to perform the technique. The worst part about all of this is that Learn had indirectly perpetrated influencing external communities into adopting lasting false preconceived notions about me. This would later cause me extreme damage in the form of my computer being ratted and having all of its files deleted in a screen share when I tested for UHC Tier 1, which most of you don't know was the main reason why I was never able to release my 3-year vanilla PvP montage last year. The rumors would also indirectly lead to me having to handcam myself shield disabling when I tested for the first time on the Axe tier list and achieved low tier 3. Low tier 3 is only a somewhat above average rank, so it was obvious that the reason I was being forced to handcam was largely due to the false notions that had been spread about me. Learn was able to change the social atmosphere through the use of lies and crafty language to instigate people into having an undeserved hatred against me. By this point I started to realize what type of person Learn actually was, which you can see by the messages on screen. I told its real me that it felt like Learn was willing to be disloyal if it meant increasing his chances of reaching a higher standing. This is where I pointed out that Learn would clearly snake me if he was given a viable opportunity to do so, to which its real me corroborated by stating previous examples of just that. I also complained about the fact that I was unable to do anything to resolve the situation because it was all taking place in private while he was pretending to be friendly with me on the surface. A few days later, on December 12th, I would also find out the truth about the Tier 1 tournament that took place earlier in the year. 3 days later, on December 15th, Learn would announce a rule update that mouse rebinding was officially banned. Following its ban, I prompted that we could now close the exclusive chat Learn had made for the vote since the discussion was over. This sparked an argument in which Learn would suggest that our regulator team was inadequate and that I had violated past conversations and agreements when I recruited them. He would then use this argument to justify decisions and votes instead being discussed within the new exclusive channel that he had made. The overarching claim that Learn would make in his argument was that I had given everyone the false pretenses that the regulator position was nothing more than a moderation rule. This was blatantly untrue because previously we had always included regulators to have a say in important votes and discussions, but suddenly now Learn was arguing that this wasn't the case. The majority of this argument would go in circles, with Learn claiming that I had misinformed everyone, and with me, of course, claiming that I never did. After this went on for a little bit, Learn would eventually try to reach for something to substantiate his false argumentation. He did this by stating that Israelmi was never involved to have a say in senior votes and discussions when he was in regulator. He would also speak for Israelmi by saying that they were both under false pretenses and that I could just ask him to back up the claim. Learn saying this made me very confused because I felt like it didn't seem right that I had actually misinformed everyone so badly. If I hadn't known about Learn's malicious tendencies prior to this, then I probably would have been gaslit into believing that what he was saying was true. Learn also probably thought this would work because for a long time he effectively had the power of 2 by using Israelmi. What Learn didn't realize now, though, was that this wasn't the case anymore since Israelmi had taken notice of his malicious behavior towards me. I responded to Learn by saying that I knew something wasn't right here and that there was no point trying to convince me of something that wasn't true just to support his argument. He then continued to try and convince me that what he was saying was true, to which I repeated what I had said previously. Learn took this personally and told me that it was outrageous for me to call him a blatant liar, to which I told him that I'm not outright calling him one, but that he undeniably doesn't know what he's talking about and is supplementing faulty argumentation to support his case. Fortunately, in this particular situation, I was able to uncover evidence that disproved his claim that would have otherwise labeled me guilty. After I posted the evidence, he then apologized and told me that he misremembered, but unfortunately this had been a recurring pattern for a while now. While it's plausible that in situations like these, Learn actually believes what he's saying to be true, he's also willing to supplement lies to avoid losing the argument. An example of this would be when he spoke on Israelmi's behalf by saying that he could testify to what ended up being a false claim. This was disproven on both fronts in the form of my evidence against his false claims and also with Israelmi himself confirming that he was never under any false pretenses at all. All of this indicates an extreme degree of narcissism. Learn seemingly can't stand his rhetoric being seen as incorrect and is willing to do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. Learn's tendency to bluff is also something that he himself has acknowledged on multiple occasions. A month prior to this, he had messaged me saying that he could never operate with my leadership style and that he preferred to instill fear and a sense of surveillance to keep people in line. He also mentioned that he couldn't count how many times people had folded to his bluffs. When he first messaged me that, I didn't think much of it since I assumed it only applied to troublemakers. In retrospect, though, it's extremely revealing, and Learn has also used bluffs for other reasons to embellish himself in order to gain public favor. When you consider everything that happened throughout this con, you can start to see how egregious it gets. Not only was Learn able to discreetly twist an entire situation to mischaracterize me without leaving a trace back to him, but he was also able to use it as a way to further consolidate his influence in the process. This is something Kronos pointed out to me after he saw my previous argument with Learn. To put into perspective how stealthy all of this was, let's briefly recap the events that happened here. At the start of all of this, Learn messaged me about making a separate chat excluding regulators from the mouse rebinding legality vote. This was odd because regulators had previously always been a part of important votes and discussions, but for some reason this one was being treated differently. In the days that followed, Learn would use lies to back up his arguments, then go on to spread more lies in private to damage my reputation. This would not only cause content creators to have false preconceived notions about me, but would also influence entire external communities into thinking I'm a closet cheater. In the process of doing all of this, he also pretended as if he was friendly with me, so that he could benefit in the form of receiving thumbnails and endorsement for his promotion to network owner. Once the mouse rebinding vote was over, I suggested that we could delete the channel Learn had made for the discussion since there was no more reason to have it. This caused Learn to get into an argument with me in which he would suggest that we continue to use the exclusive channel that he had made for important discussions and votes. He would also make the claim that regulators were never meant to be directly involved with important discussions and falsely accuse me of having misinformed everyone about their intended power. What all of this shows you is that Learn was able to manufacture this entire scenario in a way that would lead to massive personal gain. Not only did he manage to carry out his vendetta against me in secret, but he also managed to tiptoe towards further consolidating his influence by attempting to exclude his dissenters from all future votes and discussions. Now that we've gotten over the previous chain of events, I'll be going over what would take place afterwards. My previous argument with Learn seemingly left him with an increased bitterness towards me, because a few days later he would privately belittle me for my past personal struggles with academics. He would also make the claim that UCC Dog was both smarter and more emotionally intelligent than me, which is ludicrous when you consider that he was the same person that rage quit his tier list ownership position and was harassive towards me. All of the damage that Learn had been causing to me over the past month was extremely stressful for me to deal with, so it was disheartening to know that he was soon to be promoted to network owner, which he was on January 7th. I knew this promotion would only make it easier for Learn to continue defrauding me, which now brings us to the next section. On January 12th, Learn would DM me after taking notice that the streamer Dr. Donut had been using the Crystal Optimizer mod that I was soon planning to release to the public. I answered his question in the form of an in-depth response and subsequently asked him to try out the mod for himself and give me his opinion on its potential gameplay legality. Unfortunately, Learn ended up deliberately ignoring my response to his question, but that's probably because he never actually cared about what the mod was in the first place. Instead, he seemingly viewed it as another opportunity to mischaracterize me and damage my reputation, because he would end up saying that the mod that I was planning to release was actually a hack. This is hypocritical because Learn already endorses gameplay modifications in the form of his yearly PvP mod packs, one of which he had released only a month prior.
Hey guys, welcome back to the new Learn upload. I'll be releasing the highly demanded and anticipated 1.20 mod folder today. The next mod is called Apple Skin. Apple Skin is a utility mod that allows you to see your saturation bar. This is useful as your saturation bar acts as a second set of hearts, allowing rapid regeneration. And next we have health indicators. As implied in the name, this allows you to see your opponent's health, vital for securing the final blow in PvP. The next mod I wish to focus in on is Armor HUD. Armor HUD allows you to see your durability without ever entering your inventory. Not only is this important to know when your armor will actually break, but to actually repair efficiently. As you can see, I can evenly distribute my XP bottles to each piece by using this mod. This is known as single mending and is a vital strategy in high level PvP to ensure not a single XP bottle is wasted.
There's a clear difference between the Crystal Optimizer mod I was releasing versus the mods that Learn includes in his mod packs. The Crystal Optimizer was released in order to remove a disadvantage caused by laggy conditions, which many players can't help. The specific disadvantage that I'm referring to is the fact that crystal entities don't actually get removed on the client side right when you hit them. Instead, they face an additional delay in the form of waiting for the server to send back to the client that the crystal was destroyed, which is completely unnecessary in the context of PvP. While this delay wasn't much of an issue for players who lived reasonably close to the server, it was a massive one for those with higher latency. The primary problem with this removal delay was the fact that players couldn't place their next crystal in the same spot because an invisible hitbox was blocking them. What this means is that players with high latency were essentially forced to look down after every single crystal placement, then back up to break the next one. The Crystal Optimizer was created to address this issue by making the crystal entity actually remove on the client side the moment you break it. Because the community consensus already allows for the usage of competitive enhancement mods, the Crystal Optimizer can be seen as a good addition to this as it seeks to make the game more functional at virtually no expense. This is why Learn's decision to label the Crystal Optimizer as a hack makes no sense because he already endorses mods such as Armor HUD, Saturation HUD, and Health Indicators. Some of these mods not only have a greater gameplay impact than the Crystal Optimizer, but also exceed the scope of mods that can be classed as an attempt to make the game more functional. Lurid's hypocrisy here reveals how personally invested he was in this situation, and is yet another example of his tendency to seek out opportunities that he can use to fully mischaracterize me. On January 15th, I would end up releasing the Crystal Optimizer to the public. A lot of people were wondering why my own mod ended up being banned in the tier list, and many people called me hypocritical because of it. What really happened after the release of this mod was an internal admin discussion regarding its gameplay legality, which I would end up being outvoted in. My stance throughout these discussions was that either 1. We shouldn't allow any PvP enhancement mods in the tier list, or 2. We should allow the Crystal Optimizer because it serves as a good addition to the genre of PvP enhancement mods already allowed by the community. Because option number 1 was the most fair, many staff agreed with me on it. However, because PvP enhancement mods are already the community standard, option number 2 was obviously the only outcome here that would
I'm back, hello?
work. Unfortunately, the outcome that ended up happening in...
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I'm back. What's good? I was playing with my cat because I watched like this
Instead
part.
would result in PvP enhancement mods being allowed but excluding the crystal optimizer, which for those who used it would be placed on the hacker list permanently. After the mod was banned, Learn attempted to heroize himself in the announcements channel as if he had just saved the community, which unexpectedly for him would be met with incredibly poor reception. Many players complained about the crystal optimizer's ban, especially because of how much favor it had in the community's public vote. Learn's response to this would be to continue to label the crystal optimizer as a hack, which would further the narrative that I endorsed cheating. I knew that the crystal optimizer being banned would be disastrous for the tier list because many of the community servers had already legalized it. Its ban would result in hundreds of players being permanently banned and labeled as hackers. Most of these players innocently had no idea that the mod was disallowed on the tier list because it was so commonly allowed on servers. Witnessing the hacker list grow from only a few players to literal hundreds over the span of 2023 was incredibly disheartening for me to watch. The community was being so damaged by this that at the end of the year I knew I had to do what was best and violate the staff team's decision by reversing it and employing option number 2, which was what I had been suggesting since the start. Everything that happened here shows you that Learn is willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to fulfill his vendettas, even if it means causing massive damage to innocent players and the rest of the community in the process. At this point, Learn's attempts to defraud me had been seriously taking its toll on me. Any attempts that I made to reconcile with him proved fruitless, and it felt like no matter what my intentions were, I was always doomed to be mischaracterized in incredibly backwards ways. The feeling of my every action being surveilled as an opportunity for Learn to latch onto affected me to the point where anytime I made a mistake, I began to magnify it immensely out of proportion and doubt my own self-worth. I probably would have ended up actually leaving my position if it weren't for the fact that Learn conveniently happened to take a hiatus around this time period. Because of this, everything I go over after this point can be considered a transition into more recent events, as they largely take place after Learn's return from his hiatus. During the months that Learn was absent, I went on to direct and release the MC Tiers website. The primary purpose of this website was to reduce the workload required by staff in the form of automatic tier updating. The website also introduced the overall ranking system and a number of rank titles for players to achieve. In July, the same month that the website officially released, I heard that Learn would be returning from his hiatus and posting videos again soon. When I heard this, I wasn't actually upset. In fact, I saw it as a good opportunity to finally reconcile with him since I felt like the time away did some good. I decided to message Learn telling him to let me know when he came back and posted his next video so that I could spread the word using my Discord server. In this conversation, I also pointed out our previous bitterness and attempted to reconcile with him. To this, Learn responded by stating that there was never any bitterness and that it was merely the way he presents himself in arguments. He apologized for how he came across and told me that I'd have known it was just his spiky personality if we had established it prior. In retrospect, I shouldn't have believed what Learn was saying here for even a split second. I was too overjoyed by the fact that things had seemingly been resolved between us that I failed to notice the massive leap in logic between his response and reality. Learn's denial of ever having any personal bitterness towards me is egregiously contradicted by both his malicious gossip and his private attacks on my character. Considering Learn's tendency to lie while still posing as friendly towards me, I should have seen through this the entire time. The remainder of what I cover in this video will precisely show you that not only was Learn's previous response to me untruthful, but that he has also continued to keep up the same behavior to this day. On November 13th, Learn would end up messaging me once again asking for his vanilla retired tier 1, which as you know was obtained fraudulently. I already went over this previously when I discussed the tier 1 tournament, so I'll be skipping over the specifics of this part. Something I will mention, however, is that during this conversation I brought up the thought that from Learn's point of view it might seem possible that I had also account shared with its realme to obtain my tiers, which was a rumor that some players had been spreading to make a fraudulent report on me at the time. Learn's response to this was that he knew my nature and that I wouldn't want to achieve my ranks illegitimately like that, which was true. While there's nothing wrong with these messages on their own, Learn's viewpoint that I'm an honest person is an obvious contrast from his behavior towards me, especially when you consider that on multiple occasions he has fully attempted to frame me as the opposite. A recent example of this massive contrast can be seen when one of Learn's staff members referred to me as corrupt and stated that I've often broken tier list rules to increase my rank, which Learn corroborated. In the same response, he also compared himself to me while stating that he didn't view himself as corrupt. This response makes no sense when you consider that only around 2 months prior in DMs he told me that he knew by my nature that I didn't want to achieve my ranks illegitimately. In the same conversation, he would also lie to his staff members about the truth of his retired Tier 1 rank by implying that the discussions surrounding it are some sort of joke and that he has always agreed that he should never have it, which you know by now is completely untrue. Learn's next con would take place on January 9th. For context, this was the same day that my high Tier 2 sword rank was removed less than a day after I had earned it. Since I had just been deprived of a rank that I had earned, I happened to be in an argument with Learn and Ends on the subject. For some reason, throughout this argument, Learn maintained a very sneering tone towards me. It didn't feel like I was arguing with someone who was actually invested in the discussion, but rather someone who was using it as an opportunity to target me. The feeling I had that I was being targeted ended up being exactly right. At the end of our argument, suddenly out of nowhere, Learn told me that my netherite pot Tier 2 rank was unfair and asked me if I would redo the test. This was completely outrageous because I had earned the rank 7 months ago and not competed at all since that point. There was also nothing unfair about my rank whatsoever. Before I proceed, you have to understand that I had not only earned the rank in question by passing the test for it, but I had also maintained it for a month. This meant that I met all of the requirements to be able to retire from the game mode with the points that I had earned from the rank. When I saw what Learn was doing, I immediately knew that it was malicious. Because I had just been deprived of one rank that I had earned, Learn seemingly saw an opportunity to deprive me of another. I responded to Learn by asking him what his basis was for my rank being unfair, which he responded to by claiming that I didn't meet the requirements to keep it because I didn't perform any additional fights after reaching Tier 2. This is egregious because not only was I never assigned any fights while I held my rank, but the rule stating that you must do 3 of them was not added until 6 months after my rank was achieved. I pointed out this massively corrupt logic to Learn by showing him his own rule update statement from December. He responded to me by saying that the rule had actually always been in place, which I pointed out directly contradicting his wording in the announcement. I actually ended up asking an administrator later if it was true that the rule had always been in place, which of course it wasn't. This can be seen as yet another example of Learn's usage of lies to further his attempts to defraud me. Learn would attempt to frame me as childish in this argument while further continuing to lie about the rule set. I pointed out to Learn that he was the one being childish in this situation by suddenly trying to deprive me of a rank 7 months after I had earned it. This upset Learn, as he would next claim that I was given special treatment and that I should have also been punished in the vanilla tier list previously. This is in reference to the method scenario which you already know was used by Learn maliciously. Learn's decision to bring this up over a year after he had spread a massive amount of lies in order to defraud me for it shows you how personally invested he was in this situation. It also shows you that he clearly hasn't changed since the previous events. I pointed out to Learn that I wasn't given any special treatment here, and that according to the network rule set I met all of the requirements to maintain my rank. Learn would respond to this by saying that the network rule set was only applicable to the vanilla game mode, and that it was never meant to be applied anywhere else. This was yet another lie because Learn himself voted in favor of universal retirement rules, which I have evidence to show for. The network rule set, which Learn himself contributed to, was also present in each game mode's Discord server for an extensive period of time. Something you may have noticed throughout this argument is that Learn was trying to get me to make the choice for myself of whether or not I would be redoing my allegedly unfair tier test. This was because he knew that if I refused it, then he could use that as a way to mischaracterize me while avoiding all responsibility. Avoiding responsibility here meant that he could defraud me by claiming that he tried to make things fair but I refused to cooperate. I saw through exactly what Learn was doing here and made sure not to play into it. I kept telling him that since he's the manager of Netherite Pot, the decision is on him. Learn seemingly grew increasingly frustrated that I wasn't playing into his traps, and he started to become more hostile towards me. I eventually forced the argument to end by pointing out that I was aware of his attempts to evade responsibility. What this entire scenario showed me was that Learn had never actually changed, and had only strategically given me reason to believe so. In the present day, I've found myself to be in the same situation that's been a common denominator throughout all of the events that I've gone over. This can best be summed up as an awkward forced relationship in which Learn pretends to be nice to me until he has a chance to damage me. This is an uncomfortable position to be in because it forces me to behave like there's nothing going on. Acting this way has been morally difficult for me because I always prefer to be straightforward when I'm in contention with someone. When making this video, I knew that this was a topic that I'd have to cover, not only to clear my name from the malicious gossip that has been circulated about me, but also to prevent any future damage caused by this recurring pattern. To this day, Learn continues to lie to people about many of the events that I covered in this section, and his decision to do so should serve as further evidence of his character. The next label I'll be debunking is not exclusive to me, and is often wrongly attributed to staff members. It's a common occurrence that when a player is punished for misbehavior, they deny wrongdoing and label the staff as abusive in an attempt to avoid negative perception. This causes the player's followers to begin wrongfully targeting negative perception. This causes the player's followers to begin wrongfully targeting staff members by inciting riots or smear campaigns. Situations like this can actually cause significant damage depending on the size of the player's following. A recent case that illustrates this clearly was when a top player and streamer was restricted on the vanilla tier list for artificially increasing his friend's rank. Following his punishment, he chose to deny and portray victim status while he and his friends ridiculed the staff team on stream.
If you can prove that I was on his account, then I can be restricted. There is no way I can prove that I wasn't on his account. Because I wasn't on his
Why is bro on EU? He's East.
account. Tell me what to do to prove it, and I'll do it. Because there's no way you just said, like, that's so
2000 FPS, damn.
stupid.
I would have been tier 2. Like, do you guys not think they tried to stop me? They always tried to stop me because they knew I would get tier 2. One more round and I would have been tier 2.
The quote-unquote wrong that I did is so stupid. It's so dumb. I'm literally just trying to play the game, and they're stopping me from playing the tier list.
This led to massive riots and chat flooding taking place, with many of his followers
Fake, quit the rigged tier list, make your own tier list. What the fuck, game piss, bro? This rigged tier list, what did he do with the tier list collapsing, as we know. Tier list corrupt, god, bro. I'm gonna mute myself, but yeah.
unfairly criticizing the staff team and labeling them as corrupt. His group would then go on to rephrase what happened in the most vindictive
What?
Play it, you nig.
Okay, I'm reading, bro.
way possible by claiming that the staff team was blatantly lying to punish him, all because I allegedly viewed him as a competitive threat. I know it's hard to believe, but people really did fail to see through what was happening here. This is all incredibly
I know King Default did alt and stuff like that, but I'm still like in King Default's side.
backwards because it attributes villainy to the
Huh?
Who's King Default or
You
Marlow?
know-
They're on the same side.
No, they're not, but I'm on King Default's side, which is I guess the
Why?
opposite of Marlow.
staff members and victimhood to the perpetrator, when it should actually be the other way around. The most upsetting
Why are
thing
you
about
on Marlow's?
situations
Why
like
aren't
these
you on Marlow's side?
Cause King Default's the GOAT, bruh. He could literally 4-0 everyone in the tier list if he was unrestricted. He could 4-0 Avanti. He would be like Ariel. He would like 4-2 Marlow, like dead ass.
That means you're glazing, just.
It's the
You're-
truth,
you're
bro. You
thinking-
glaze Marlow just cause she's a girl. You're not getting that pussy, bro. You're not getting that pussy. I'm telling you, bro.
Hey, yo. First of all, I don't glaze.
is
I
how
don't
much
glaze
people take
Marlow. I just respect the girl. Like
Your mic is
you
lagging.
don't understand. You.
Let's just keep watching.
the generous efforts of the staff team for granted. Only a few months prior to this situation, the same player made fun
Obese, fat, slow, retarded, ADHD. She loses interest to combos too easily. She's so goddamn autistic.
of me for my disorders privately and was also blacklisted for sharing details about my location
Nah, King Default went that far.
and discussing real-life harm against
She's so lucky I don't see her IRL. I'll break her nose. And she'll lose all her teeth even if she has even even has any. Jump her ass, she's too big for me anyways. Too afraid she sits on me. If she unadds me, she's asking for the worst. I'll kill that faggot. Marlow's getting a fucking killed.
Me. Despite the circumstances, I felt sorry for him because he had just recently started streaming and I didn't want to ruin his new pursuit. I told him I would be willing
Oh, so any updates on the blacklist? Okay.
to forgive him, and I also made him a stream thumbnail. It's disheartening to see that a generous decision to forgive and unban a player can turn into enabling them to cause
But you can't do
further
that.
damage
But listen,
whenever it
pause.
next benefits them.
Bro, you can't do that, bro. Come on now.
Do what?
Bro. See how nice Marlow is? You see how nice Marlow is, bro? Like, she literally made him a thumbnail, and you're saying...
was obviously joking.
Nah, but you can't be doing that, bro. She's a girl. 2, she's just nice, and she doesn't even be cursing anybody out. Look what they're saying: obese, fat, all of that. You come on now, bro. That's just way too toxic.
Unfortunately, situations like this seem to be a recurring issue, and the only ones suffering from it are the ones trying to do the right thing. In this section, I'll be debunking the claim that I'm attempting to employ
I think she also talked about Dr.
agreement on
Dona here, I'm not
community through
sure.
the use of both my contributions and an alleged political heist. For those of you who are wondering, totalitarianism is a form of government that seeks to take away freedom and suppress dissenters by controlling the sphere of a society. Given this definition, the accusation that I'm employing totalitarianism here is absurd, but for the sake of the argument, let's try to juxtapose what the community would look like without the contributions that are in question for being politically motivated. Firstly, with the absence of MC tiers, there would no longer be a unified competitive community for players to participate in. PvP game modes and their communities would remain mostly isolated from each other, and the concept of the tier list would remain confined to manually ranking players using spreadsheets. The impact the MC tiers has had on unifying the competitive community has brought forth many newcomers, and for some that's led to lasting friendships. Secondly, with the absence of the blacklist, malicious behavior would remain an accepted part of the competitive community. I personally witnessed the immense contrast in the community's atmosphere now compared to when these behaviors were freely allowed, and I can confidently say that the blacklist has significantly improved player safety. Although creating the blacklist has planted a target on my back, that's something that I'm willing to bear if it means improving the community. I believe that the primary misconception that leads people to believe that I'm attempting totalitarianism comes from a lack of understanding of my actual goal. Currently, my goal is to establish a proper framework in certain areas of the Minecraft community that allow it to thrive. A good example of this would be the Minecraft Design Hub, which I created in order to bring information about Minecraft-related graphic design to the public in a cohesive way.
Should I check that out after the stream?
Yeah.
Alright, bet.
I also knew that doing this would promote more high-quality Minecraft content in general, since it serves as a good platform for content creators to meet designers.
Wait, you can make thumbnails?
I'm pretty sure.
Hold on.
Let me check if it just any stream real quick.
Imagine I'm not even streaming. Yeah, I am streaming. It's just recording. Kidding.
You are, but just one person watching?
Yeah, well. Hold on.
Let me check if
$250
guess who's the one person?
$2,050 wager versus it show me. There's 2 people watching.
Girl, guess who's the one person watching?
Oh.
Deluxy. You are.
Deluxy?
Yeah.
How do you know? Can I not see the chat?
You know
Hello?
Deluxy.
Eric Kim, why are you being a prac bot for lung? Why are you being a prac bot for lung? That's crazy. Do you know who that is?
Huh?
He's a good ass low tier 3. And Deluxy said, why is he being my practice bot? Hold on.
Deluxy's ass. I'm joking, Deluxy.
This isn't. He's a low tier
I'm better
3.
than Deluxy.
He's saying, Deluxy said, why this kid is being my practice bot. I'm literally like that. I'm like that, bro. Trust, definitely.
Deluxy, stop lying, bro.
Invite me to VC. All right, let me invite you to VC. Let me invite this.
No,
guy.
no, 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 no.
Let me invite him, bro.
Don't. I don't like the. I'm joking. Invite him. I love
All right,
Deluxy.
Deluxy, add me. Add me back.
Like Deluxy's my D1 dick rider.
That's crazy. Deluxy, add me back.
Bro, I'll just make a VC, you ass bitch.
All right. I'm streaming.
I don't give a fuck if you're even. I don't give a fuck if you're coming.
I made a VC. Yo, what's good? I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Death. Yo, shit. Okay.
Oh.
Let's
Oh, my ears!
I
How do you put your
know.
shit down?
go. Deluxy.
Relax.
No.
Congrats on high tier 4.
Oh, thank you.
Yo,
I
yo, yo,
think
I
about
got
low
low
tier
tier
3,
3.
not gonna lie.
Long show him, I got low tier 3.
Yo, not F-Zero literally backed out of the 1v1.
What do you mean?
Give me a West tester. Oh, West. Central.
I asked him for for West tester. He was like, nope, we're doing USPP essential. I was like, this kid.
Gave me a Central tester. Like, he
Long.
said mcpvp.club. I serve I get like 70
Oh
MS.
yeah, Deluxy, by the way, you know what we're reacting to, right?
Yeah, Marlow.
Alright, let me play the video.
But just one person watching.
Recording.
Bro,
What's the website
you're
called?
not
I'm not even streaming. I'm reacting to my own stream. What am I doing?
you dumb bitch.
The
Yo, did you just put the never mind. The PH. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I'm creating good thumbnails now. I'm gonna create good thumbnails now.
The public in a cohesive way. I also knew that doing this would promote more
I'm gonna mute my
high-quality
mic.
Minecraft content in general, since it serves as a good platform for
Deluxy,
content creators to
never
meet
mind.
designers. Essentially, my
Deluxy.
aspiration is to create a community framework where resources and competition are easily accessible to the public in the healthiest manner possible. The notion that I'm attempting totalitarianism is seemingly a misunderstanding of this intention. The reason
what do
that
you
this
want?
claim has been gaining more traction recently, though, is
Nothing,
unfortunately the result of a defamation campaign that has been made
bro.
against me, which
Didn't
I'll
Daddy
also
tell
be
you to go
debunking
sleep?
in this section. The
Yo, get
remainder of
my
what I go
food
over
too.
in
I'm
this section
hungry.
can be considered
Never mind. Just be quiet.
Yeah, what do you mean that's
Be
crazy? I'm
quiet
hungry.
before I say something on stream.
an extension of the
Yeah, boy.
Nah, this kid streamed for 6 hours? What the fuck?
Me?
This nigga has to have no life. 8 hours
He streams
straight?
for 8 hours.
8
Yo.
hours? What the fuck is default doing? 8 hours is crazy.
Get this guy out. Get this guy out. No life.
And then
events that occurred with the
I get
streamer
it
I
3
mentioned
hours.
in the previous
I get 3
section.
hours, but like
To
8 hours
briefly
is
recap what
crazy.
happened, a streamer known as King Default privately
How long
mocked
do
me for
you
my
usually
disorder.
stream for?
disorder. What disorder?
Huh?
She has a
Obese,
disorder.
fat, slow, retarded, ADHD. She loses interest to combos so easy. She's so goddamn autistic.
Discussed harming me in real life and shared information about my location. He was then blacklisted, but I ended up forgiving him shortly after because he had just recently started streaming and I felt bad that I'd be ruining his new pursuit. This ended up backfiring later on when King Default was punished again, this time for breaking competition rules in the form of account sharing to obtain a fraudulent rank for his friend Zixby. In order to preserve King Default's reputation, an attempt was made to cover up this offense by deflecting it onto another member of King's group known as Zalo, who had falsely testified to being the player competing on Zixby's account. After determining that this was a lie, King Default was restricted from competing due to his offense. After his restriction, King Default denied wrongdoing and hosted a live stream where his group spread a massive amount of lies regarding this situation, which caused his followers to start rioting over Discord while flooding me and my staff team with hate for punishing him correctly. I've already shown you some of the clips from this stream, but there's something else that you need to see that stands out.
By the way, if you guys don't know, the best team ever is the Puppet Masters. So, this is it. right here is who they're trying to go against.
Only people opposing tier list get stopped and silenced. Isn't that crazy?
Alright, get level in the call. I'm literally just trying to play the game, and they're stopping me from playing the tier list.
Guys, tier list is over. That's a public service announcement. Tier list is over. All right, and a lot of you guys are going to be enlightened. A lot of you guys are going to be enlightened really soon. I want you guys to wait and see in the coming weeks. You guys are going to have your eyes opened. All right, something big is coming. The storm is coming. The storm is coming.
The storm is fucking coming, bro.
Start your own tier list. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows, bro?
From the statements you've just watched, you can probably already interpret that this was only the beginning of the targeting that was soon to take place as a result of their punishment. In King Default's statement, you might have noticed them mention something called the Puppet Masters. You may recognize this group from their participation in Dr. Donut's live streams, but they are also responsible for attempting to force me out of the community by orchestrating a defamation campaign, which will be the main focus of this section. It's worth noting that the amount of claims being made against me here is enormous, so it's necessary that I cover everything in this video. Before I proceed, it's important that I give some insight into who the Puppet Masters are. While this group consists of a couple more players...
What?
Be right back. Be right back.
Only a few are relevant to this video. A common denominator between these players, only a few are relevant to this video. A common denominator between these players is that nearly all of them have been formerly blacklisted, with Dr. Donut being the only exception. Since I've already discussed King Default earlier on, I'll start by going over Quaxel. Quaxel is responsible for harassing me extensively over the course of the past 3 years. Not only has he threatened to come to my house, but he has also sexually harassed me extensively.
Can't wait till I get home and fuck the shit out of you. Even on your worst days, girl, you still kind of cute. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, bro.
As well.
That's crazy.
The most important thing that you need to know about Quaxel, though, is the fact that he was previously a part of uploading Thoughts Exposed videos to further a defamation campaign against me. The reason this is so important to remember is because it reveals a pattern of behavior that largely parallels with the events that I'll be covering in this section. Next, we have Zaylul, who most people didn't know is guilty of doxing the former top player DreamSan. He was later forgiven for this by DreamSan, which resulted in his unblacklist. However, regardless of this, he would end up circulating false rumors about him later on. You might also remember Zaylul from his role in creating a false testimony in order to allow King Default to lie about his innocence. There's not much more to say about Zaylul right now, as he mainly comes into play later on. Moving on, we have Zixby. You might remember Zixby as the person who claimed that a storm would be coming after he and King Default were punished. In the months prior to this, though, Zixby had been blacklisted for threatening to swat a player who was malicious towards him. During this time frame, Zixby indicated that he wanted to reform himself, which is something that I personally believed at the time. He would also often ask me for advice on doing so, which I gladly gave to him. He was later unblacklisted after making amends with the other player, but very shortly after was banned from competitive play for the offenses that we went over earlier, which brings us to where we are now.
I'll be right back, wait up.
Alright.
Alright, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alright.
Interesting how this situation closely parallels what happened between me and King Default, in the sense that both scenarios involved exploiting my willingness to help other people until being granted an opportunity to con me. Lastly, we have Dr. Donut, whose role in this should be thought of as separate from the other members of the group. I say this because although Dr. Donut is responsible for circulating this campaign, His motive for doing so is seemingly to leech off of me rather than dispose of me. Although it's unfortunate that I'll have to cover this in the video, it's more unfortunate if people are—
Wait, let me read this real quick. I'll be right back.
unable to recognize this pattern, as it's continued to cause me extreme damage throughout the time it's been happening. Now that you have proper insight into the Puppet Master's motives and behavior, it's time to go over what would end up happening after Zixby and King Default's punishment. We've already discussed how Zixby alluded to the fact that the Puppet Masters had a lot more in store than just the riots they had caused, but a few weeks after this stream, the Puppet Masters made an announcement stating that Zixby had passed away from cancer. Obviously I was skeptical of this, but I didn't comment on it out of respect for if it happened to be true. Around the same time, King Default was attempting to appeal his punishment in the vanilla tier list. The links that King Default went to in this appeal to cover up the truth of what happened was so extensive that he continued to lie in his ticket for months on end. In the process of doing all of this, he also continued to be disrespectful to the staff team. Eventually, after King Default realized that his continued attempts at deception weren't getting him anywhere, he decided to add Dr. Donut, who would act as a lawyer for his appeal. King knew that by leveraging Dr. Donut's influence, he might be able to increase the chances that we conform to his lies. One of King Default's terms for the remainder of this appeal, though, was that none of my staff members would intervene, meaning that the ticket would be handled by me alone.
And I do have a lawyer that I want to bring in here, if that's fine with you. His Discord is Dr. Donut, and I feel like he can give you guys many reasons on why I should be freed. And, he's on my side.
I initially started off this discussion between the three of us by explaining why I knew that it was a bad idea to accept the ongoing appeal. Something that you need to keep in mind throughout the remainder of this appeal is that at this point in time, King Default is still continuing to lie about what happened. He continued to deny the fact that he had played on Zixby's account, since Zalo had still been covering it up for him. The following night, I received a response from Dr. Donut regarding my previous statement. This response broke the boundaries of logic in a way that seemed to portray King Default in the most charitable light possible, yet it provided no proper reason for doing so. Dr. Donut's response started by asserting that King Default's former blacklist was a mistake on my part. He also claimed that this was exactly why King was later unblacklisted, which you know from earlier is untrue. Something that makes this statement bizarre is that Dr. Donut is the one responsible for creating the exact group that King Default attempted to appeal his blacklist in. He would have known that the only reason King Default was unblacklisted is because I ended up forgiving him despite his numerous attempts to lie to me about what happened. I also have old conversations corroborating this by showing that Dr. Donut was aware of King Default's continued attempts to lie to me. To further emphasize how unreasonably skewed this statement is in King Default's favor, I'll debunk the way in which Dr. Donut tries to claim that King didn't act maliciously in the interaction highlighted in red. I'll begin by going through the sequence of events that were going on at the time. This situation started out with King Default discussing methods of assaulting me in real life. He then began to mock me for my disorders and stated that I was asking for the worst if I were to remove him from my friends list. Following this, he then shared private details regarding my location, which combined with everything else he had done landed him on the blacklist. After being blacklisted, King Default denied everything and mischaracterized the situation on livestream, which caused people to be under the false pretense that I had punished him simply because I viewed him as a threat to my influence. Every one of these actions is ill-intentioned beyond reasonable doubt simply based off of King's behavior throughout all of them combined. But Dr. Donut's statement makes a massive leap in logic by suggesting that specifically the interaction in red had no ill intent behind it despite everything else that took place. This is a prime example of how this appeal was being proposed in a manner that attempted to undermine the validity of King's punishments rather than take accountability for them. Unfortunately, the rest of this appeal would follow the same pattern, and Dr. Donut would also assert that he didn't believe that King Default continuing to lie about his punishments was a justifiable reason for us to maintain them, as if that was an acceptable thing to do in order to achieve an unban. After continuing to reply to a couple of blatantly unreasonable statements like these, I eventually forced the ticket to end by once again asserting that I knew King was lying. This situation ended with Dr. Donut literally having to convince King in private that the best way to facilitate his unban would be to tell the truth in his appeal. Now that we've gone over King Default's appeal, it's time to go over what would end up happening the month after I denied it. Unfortunately, this is where things reach the absolute boiling point, and the situation noticeably escalates beyond anything we've seen so far. On May 8th, another player contested me in a fight for number 1 in the world. My opponent happened to be a member of the Puppet Masters, and this fight was live-streamed to members of the group. I ended up winning this set, but less than a day later, while I happened to be casually discussing a poll in the Discord, I saw my opponent start typing briefly before out of nowhere, I suddenly found myself in a confrontation with multiple alt accounts who started to target me simultaneously. The weirdest thing about this interaction is that one of the accounts started claiming to be me while subsequently attempting to argue with me about it at the same time. They also claimed that they were soon to release a video that would prove that they actually are me. While this was happening, I decided to stall them out so that I could get on my PC and record the interaction. Only a few days before any of this took place, though, the same Danger Mario account that was claiming to be me randomly joined the Discord attempting to defend themselves from claims that they are me. This is obviously a complete 180 from what would end up happening later, but you'll come to notice why this pattern of behavior is so effective. A few hours after this altercation, Zaylul, a member of the Puppet Masters, released a video titled Marlow's True Identity, 3+ years of lies. The overarching goal of this video was to convince people that I'm a mass manipulator from 2B2T who has performed a political heist on the Minecraft community. The Puppet Masters initiated this campaign under the false guise that they were attempting to service the community, when in reality they were looking to exploit it, as you'll see later on. Immediately after the release of this video, members and associates of the Puppet Masters began to leave comments in order to ramp up the rate at which the video would be perceived as valid, which would successfully end up causing people to believe that the video was being truthful.
I knew women weren't good at Minecraft, that's crazy.
In order for me to properly debunk the claims being made in this video, I'll need to go over a sequence of events that demonstrates the extent of impersonation that's currently being employed. There are 4 players that you need to be aware of. All of these players participated in the Anarchy community together before later migrating to the Vanilla Survival community. For those of you who don't know, Lakazuki and C-Pyro are serial harassers who have been blacklisted for a long list of offenses, most of which are actually illegal. They are also the ones responsible for cultivating the rumor that I'm secretly Danger Mario, which is ironic because coincidentally these players are also friends with Danger Mario, with Lakazuki currently happening to own the Danger Mario account name. Both of these players have been attempting to harass me for years now, and have targeted multiple of my friends with real-life crimes in an attempt to remove them as well. Lakazuki and C-Pyro are under the impression that I've ruined the community by creating the blacklist, which serves as the community's collective defense against malicious behavior by globally banning players who perpetrate it. This viewpoint has led them to believe that they're actually preserving the community from ruin by continuing to perpetrate harassment against me. The degree of this delusion has become so extensive that they literally view me as a totalitarian dictator like Adolf Hitler, which is why they produce political propaganda that furthers that notion. The saddest part about this is that it's not a joke, and this delusional state of mind is unfortunately what makes them so persistent. In their eyes, they're simply fighting an injustice, which is exactly why they're willing to go to any lengths necessary to the point of remorselessly harassing people for years just to fulfill their perceived goal of preserving the community.
I am a doxer. I can't change, and I won't change. Marlow called me a psychopath. Said I had a mental illness and I shouldn't be trusted. She got me banned.
Man,
Bro, what are we watching?
incredible.
From
What the fuck is this?
everything from the community. And I will never forget what she did to me. And everyone will pay. Marlow changed the community forever.
He's going on his Joker arc.
Bro, it's not in the edit.
And all the OGs will
He's
never
going on his
forgive
Joker
what
arc.
she did. And this will not slide. So as of today,
Bro, it's not the main villain of a movie.
no one is safe. I am coming back to torment the community. No one can ban me if I'm already banned. I will reshape this community and make it the worst community to join.
While Lakazuki and C. Pyro can be thought of as the drivers of the campaign, Danger Mario and Hide Excel can be thought of as the brains behind it by ensuring that people are properly manipulated by it on a social and technical level. In early 2021, I was one of multiple people targeted with an exploit used by Danger Mario that would cause a hack client usage indicator to show up on any chosen target and become visible to anyone using the client themselves. This exploit was used to manipulate people into falsely accusing innocent players who had been targeted by the exploit. I ended up being falsely banned from the survival server I played because of this exploit, and was even forced to do my entire tier test on screen share to prove my innocence. At the time, nobody knew about this exploit, and after its targets were proven innocent, it was just disregarded as the result of an unreliable usage indicator. A few months later, though, Danger Mario released a video titled Purity Vanilla Exposed that would tell a story of using briefing and exploits to take revenge against the server's staff team. In one part of this video, he revealed his usage of the exploit called Meteor Spoofing, which finally explained the seemingly random events that had happened just a few months prior. The interesting thing about this exploit is that I was the first person to be targeted by it. I was targeted approximately 18 hours before anyone else was banned for it. This also took place in the same controversial time period in which I was massively hated for my progress towards Tier 1, which I ended up achieving a month later. The fact that I was the very first target of this exploit in an extremely specific...
The fact that Marlow got demoted to low tier 1 and lost 2-4 to Ariel.
Wild.
And then Avanti got 4-0'd. He got 4-0'd before the tier list. Like before he fought Ariel, and then he got 4-0'd again.
That's wild.
And got demoted to low tier 1 too.
Time period shows you that there was clearly a motive to interfere with my progress. Something that you need to know about Danger Mario's video was that it was actually used as a catalyst to funnel people from the target server into his own survival server that he was soon planning to release. Interestingly enough, C. Pyro and Lakazuki were the kickstarters of this server, and a member of their group actually had a secret admin role. Another important thing to note is that right after the server was released, C. Pyro and Hide Excel both started trolling me randomly in the Discord chat. This would mark my first ever interaction with Hide Excel.
What the fuck? Is it easier to PP for you because you can use your moves to press keys? Like move tapping? What the fuck? It's quite deadly. What? Because you're a girl? Dog, you can't be go. Boom tapping is crazy.
I heard it's quite deadly.
Bro, quite deadly is crazy.
3 separate accounts within the span of a month. The reason this interaction was so bizarre was because I had no idea who Hide Excel even was, yet he seemed insistent on constantly continuing to harass me. In retrospect, this shows you that Hide Excel clearly already knew who I was before this interaction, which now brings us to the next chain of events. A few months after my interaction with Hyde, he began—
Instead of D-tapping, it's boob tapping.
and uploading a series of videos under the title 2B2T in Vanilla. These videos would range from montages to clutch interactions demonstrating himself beating 2B2T hackers in Vanilla. After months of these videos being produced, I randomly received a DM one day from Hide Excel who wanted to purchase an advertisement for his videos and group called the Anti-Cheat. He would do this twice before subsequently trying to get me to join the group for myself by offering me gear and supplies. A few days after I was invited to the Anti-Cheat, another member of the group named Grandmaster would randomly go rogue and grease the team's base. This would cause Hide Excel to push members into creating a new base, and he would use this as an opportunity to encourage me to participate in the process of doing so. I never actually ended up doing this, or even participating in the group's activities at all really, I didn't have much interest in playing since I was busy with other stuff at the time. On the last day of 2022, Grandmaster had posted a video exposing Hyde XL for faking his 2B2T and Vanilla series. This would cause Hyde to seemingly go insane, and he began to rapidly take down his videos under the excuse that they had received copyright strikes. This would also mark the end of the anti-cheat operations and would cause Hyde to seemingly go on a hiatus. The most bizarre thing about this entire situation is that it was all actually orchestrated by Hyde himself. It was later discovered that Grandmaster was actually Hyde XL's alt, meaning that Hyde had not only griefed his own team for unknown reason, but he had also created an entire series of videos only to expose himself for faking them later on. This goes to show you the extreme lengths that Hyde will go to in order to manipulate people, which now brings us to the next set of events. With Hyde XL now seemingly on a hiatus after the anti-cheat's closure on the last day of 2022, it's now time to go over the events that happened in 2023. Over the course of this time period, Lakazuki sought to reintegrate himself with the community after his prolonged acts of malice towards me and other community members. He did this by making amends with many of his previous victims and appeared to exhibit good conduct over the course of the year. At this point in time, I actually happened to believe that Lakazuki had reformed himself. He had also been attempting to get unblacklisted so that he could finally participate in the core community once again. During the process of this, it ended up being discovered that Lakazuki was still malicious, and had actually been archiving people's personal information in a private server during the same time frame that he was pretending to be reformed. This resulted in him being banned from the survival server he played on October, pretending to be reformed.
What the fuck?
This resulted in him being banned from the survival server he played on October 17th, which he would then message me about on the 18th and the 20th. Exactly one day later, a YouTube video titled How Marlow Hijacked Crystal PvP was posted by a channel that was completely run by alt accounts. This video was the first public piece of media that would bring C-Pyro and Lakazuki's narrative to the public by alleging that I'm an alt account controlled by Hyde and Danger Mario attempting to extort the community for financial gain, which you already know by now isn't the case. This video would source evidence in the form of me allegedly being in Hyde XL's private Discord server called DCXL.
There are many indicators that Marlow is Hyde XL, or perhaps another unknown Anarchy player. First indicator is that in one of Marlow's own videos, she exposes the fact that she was a member in Hyde XL's private Discord, which is an exclusively Anarchy-only Discord. Why would it—
Nah, the voice is killing me.
A member of the vanilla PvP community be part of that Discord, especially when considering the dox and toxicity culture that was promoted in that community?
Ironically enough, this Discord actually has nothing to do with Hyde at all, and it is only a clan for a survival server. The video would also show screenshots of an anonymous user getting admissions from Hyde and Danger Mario's friend named Exodonis of me allegedly being their controlled alt account. Alongside this, it showed an interaction with Hyde attempting to bribe the anonymous user into keeping the information a secret by offering them staff favors.
To give context, messages have been revealed firstly with Hyde XL, where he openly admits to a person that was saying Marlow is an alt that he is an alt, in an attempt to coerce them into silence via tier list favors he could grant. He openly states that this has been something he had been working on for years, specifically for, and that he would grant favors to silence the truth. Now similar messages with Exogenis have been exposed as well.
I gotta go. I'm probably gonna make a part 3 for this. Yo, Deluxey. Deluxey. I'm probably gonna make a part 3 for this, cause I gotta go right now.
Alright.
Alright, see ya.